The steel mansion gleamed like a glass cathedral under the morning sun, its sprawling lawns manicured to perfection, every blade of grass a testament to wealth. Inside, Camilla Steele glided through the grand foyer, her silk robe trailing like liquid gold. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor, each step a declaration of dominance. At 31, Camilla was the picture of curated elegance, blonde hair swept into a flawless updo, emerald eyes cold and calculating, lips painted a bold crimson. She was the queen of this domain, and she intended to keep it that way. "Marissa!" Camilla's voice cut through the air, sharp enough to make the young housekeeper flinch. Marissa, barely 20, scurried forward, clutching a silver tray of coffee. "Yes, Mrs. Steele?" Camilla didn't look at her, her gaze fixed on a smudge on a crystal vase. "This is unacceptable. I told you yesterday, every surface must be flawless. Do you know how many eyes are on this house? On me." She waved a manicured hand toward the floor-to-ceiling windows, where the city skyline sparkled in the distance. "People watch us. They envy us. And I will not have them whispering about dust or disorder." Marissa stammered, "I am sorry, ma'am. I'll clean it right away." Camilla's lips curled into a faint, patronizing smile. "Good. And while you're at it, tell the staff to double-check the gates. I saw a delivery truck lingering yesterday. No one gets in without clearance. No one. I don't care if it's a courier or the Pope himself. This isn't a public park." Marissa nodded, her hands trembling as she set the tray down. "Yes, Mrs. Steele. I'll pass it on." Camilla turned, her robe swishing dramatically, and strode toward the dining room. She paused at the threshold, glancing back. "Oh, and Marissa? If I catch anyone slacking again, they're out. No second chances. We don't keep dead weight in this house." The threat hung in the air as Marissa scurried away. Camilla settled into a velvet chair at the head of a mahogany dining table, sipping her coffee with the satisfaction of someone who had molded her world to perfection. She opened her phone, scrolling through her social media feed, thousands of likes on her latest post, a photo of her in a designer gown at a charity gala. The caption read, "Living the dream, built from nothing. #Steel Empire." The irony of the phrase didn't faze her. She'd rewritten her husband's rags-to-riches story as her own, erasing the inconvenient details of his past. Outside, the iron gates of the estate stood like sentinels, their spikes glinting in the sunlight. Beyond them, the world was messy, chaotic, unworthy. Camilla's job was to keep it out, and she was very, very good at her job. 38 years ago, in a crumbling clapboard house on the edge of a small Midwestern town, Jordan Steele was born. The house smelled of damp wood and motor oil, its roof patched with tarp. His mother, Vivian, was 28 then, a seamstress with calloused hands and a smile that could warm the coldest winters. She'd raised Jordan alone after his father vanished, working late into the night to keep food on the table. Her hands, though skilled, were beginning to stiffen with early arthritis, a cruel foreshadowing of the disability that would later confine her to a wheelchair. Jordan's childhood was simple but rich with love. He remembered sitting on the porch with Vivian, her laughter mingling with the chirp of crickets as she told him stories of far-off places. "You're going to see the world one day," she'd say, ruffling his hair. "You're smart, Jordan. Smarter than anyone in this town. Don't let anyone tell you different." By 16, Jordan was tinkering with computers in the school library, teaching himself to code while Vivian worked double shifts. He built his first app, a budgeting tool for low-income families, by 18, dedicating it to his mother. "For you, Ma," he'd said, showing her the clunky interface on a borrowed laptop. Vivian had cried, not because of the app, but because her boy was becoming someone extraordinary. That app caught the eye of a tech scout, and by 25, Jordan was in Silicon Valley, his startup climbing the ranks. By 30, he was a billionaire, his name synonymous with innovation. But he never forgot the woman who'd sacrificed everything for him. Every milestone, every award, every deal, carried Vivian's name in his heart. He sent money home, paid for her medical bills, and begged her to move closer. "I'm fine here," Vivian would say over crackling phone calls. "This is home." Now, in the present, Jordan was on a private jet, flying back from Tokyo after closing a deal that would expand his empire further. He stared out the window, a photo of him and Vivian tucked into his wallet. It was from his college graduation, her in a faded blue dress, beaming beside him. He hadn't seen her in person in years, not because he didn't want to, but because life had swept him up, and Vivian insisted she was just fine. Guilt gnawed at him. I should have gone to her, he thought. I should have made time. Vivian Steele, now 66, sat on a rattling bus bound for the city, her wheelchair folded in the aisle. Her hands, gnarled and trembling, clutched a worn leather satchel. Inside was a photo of her and Jordan, taken when he was 10, their faces smudged with ice cream from a rare trip to the county fair. The edges were frayed, but the memory was vivid. Jordan's giggle, the sticky summer heat, the way he'd hugged her and said, "You're the best mom in the world." Her arthritis had worsened, and a fall 2 years ago had left her reliant on the wheelchair. The small town she'd called home felt emptier each year, her friends passing or moving away. Letters from Jordan had slowed, replaced by brief texts or calls from his assistant. He's busy, she told herself. He's important. But loneliness had crept in, and with it, a longing to see her son, not the billionaire on magazine covers, but the boy who'd once needed her. The decision to travel hadn't been easy. Her savings were meager, her health fragile. But a neighbor, Mrs. Carter, had helped her book the bus ticket. "Go see your boy," Mrs. Carter had said, pressing $50 into her hand. "He'll be so happy to see you." Vivian wasn't so sure. Jordan's world was glossy, unreachable. Still, she had to try. The bus lurched to a stop at the city terminal, gray and chaotic. Vivian's heart pounded as a kind driver helped her off, unfolding her wheelchair. "You got someone picking you up, ma'am?" he asked, his brow creased with concern. Vivian smiled weakly. "My son. He lives not far." She didn't mention she hadn't told Jordan she was coming. She wanted to surprise him, to see his face light up the way it used to. The driver hesitated, then nodded. "Take care, all right?" He handed her a crumpled card with the terminal's number. "Call if you need anything." Vivian thanked him and wheeled toward a taxi stand, her satchel balanced on her lap. The city loomed around her, skyscrapers like giants, horns blaring, people rushing past without a glance. She felt small, out of place, but the photo in her bag gave her courage. Just one look at him, she thought. That's all I need. Rain began to fall as Vivian's taxi pulled up to the Steele estate, the iron gates looming like a fortress. The driver, a gruff man with a thick beard, glanced back. "You sure this is the place, lady? This is billionaire territory." Vivian nodded, her voice soft but firm. "My son lives here." The driver raised an eyebrow but said nothing, helping her into her wheelchair and setting her satchel on her lap. "That'll be $42, he said. Vivian handed him the last of her cash, her fingers shaking. The driver hesitated, then waved it off. "Keep it. Good luck, all right." As the taxi pulled away, Vivian wheeled toward the gate's intercom, rain soaking her thin coat. She pressed the button, her heart racing. Static crackled, then a woman's voice, sharp, impatient, answered. "Who is this?" Vivian leaned forward, her voice trembling. "Hello, I'm Vivian Steele. I'm here to see my son, Jordan." A long pause. Then, "There's no one here by that name. You must have the wrong address." Vivian's stomach dropped. "No, please, this is the right place. Jordan Steele. I'm his mother. I just want to see him for a moment." The gate remained shut. Rain dripped down Vivian's face, mixing with tears she hadn't realized were falling. She pressed the button again. "Please, I've come a long way. I don't need anything, just to see him." The intercom clicked off. Minutes passed, the rain growing heavier. Vivian's hands gripped the wheelchair's arms, her breath shallow. Then the gate creaked open, not to welcome her, but to reveal Camilla, striding forward under a sleek black umbrella held by a security guard. Camilla's eyes raked over Vivian, her soaked coat, her trembling hands, the wheelchair. Her lip curled. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, her voice like ice. "This is private property." Vivian swallowed, her voice barely audible. "I'm Jordan's mother. I just want—" "Jordan's mother?" Camilla laughed, a sound sharp enough to cut. "Do you think I'm stupid? Jordan doesn't have family crawling out of the woodwork like this. You're just another beggar looking for a handout." Vivian's eyes widened, her voice breaking. "I'm not here for money. I raised him. I just want to see my son." Camilla stepped closer, her heels clicking on the wet pavement. "Listen, old woman. I don't know what scam you're running, but you're not getting past this gate. Jordan's busy building an empire, not entertaining sob stories." She glanced at the security guard. "Escort grandmother time here off the property." The guard hesitated, his eyes flickering with unease. "Ma'am, she's in a wheelchair. It's pouring." "Do it," Camilla snapped, turning back toward the mansion. "And if she comes back, call the police." Vivian's voice cracked as she called after Camilla. "Please. Tell him Vivian was here. Just tell him." But Camilla didn't turn, her figure disappearing behind the gate as it clanged shut. The sound echoed like a gunshot in Vivian's chest. The security guard, a burly man named Tom, crouched beside her, his voice low. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I have to follow orders. Let me call you a cab, okay?" Vivian's hands shook as she clutched her satchel, the photo inside now damp from the rain. "I didn't mean to cause trouble," she whispered. I thought he'd want to see me." Tom's jaw tightened, his eyes avoiding hers. "I'm sure he would, ma'am. But Mrs. Steele, she runs things here." He pulled out his phone, muttering about a taxi, but Vivian barely heard him. Her mind replayed Camilla's words: beggar, scam, grandmother time, each one a knife. The rain slowed to a drizzle as Tom wheeled her to the curb, where a taxi waited. He helped her in, his movements gentle despite his size. "Where to?" the driver asked. Vivian hesitated, her voice hollow. I don't know." She had no plan, no money, no place to go. The shelter the bus driver had mentioned was her only option. Tom slipped the driver a $20 bill. "Take her to the Hope Street shelter. It's safe there." He looked at Vivian, his voice soft. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I'll make sure Mr. Steele knows you were here." Vivian nodded, too exhausted to speak. As the taxi pulled away, she glanced back at the mansion, its lights glowing like a distant dream. Inside her satchel, the photo of her and Jordan felt heavier, a reminder of a bond she wasn't sure still existed. Back at the mansion, Camilla stood in the foyer, shaking rain from her umbrella. Marissa hovered nearby, her eyes wide. "Was that really his mother?" she whispered. Camilla's gaze snapped to her. "Mind your business, Marissa. And tell the staff, if anyone mentions this to Jordan, they're fired." She strode upstairs, her heart racing despite her calm exterior. "No one's ruining my life," she thought. "Not some old woman in a wheelchair." The Steele mansion hummed with the quiet efficiency of wealth as Jordan Steele's jet touched down at the private airstrip. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the estate's manicured lawns, and inside, Camilla was orchestrating her next move. She stood in the master suite, adjusting a diamond necklace in front of a gilded mirror, her reflection flawless but her mind racing. Vivian's visit had rattled her more than she'd admit. The old woman's frail voice, her insistence on being Jordan's mother, it was a crack in the perfect facade Camilla had built. She couldn't let it spread. Downstairs, the front door opened, and Jordan's voice echoed through the foyer. "Camilla, I'm home." His tone was warm but tired, the weight of a week-long business trip evident. Camilla smoothed her dress, a sleek black number that hugged her curves, and descended the grand staircase with practiced grace. Jordan stood in the foyer, loosening his tie, his dark hair slightly tousled. At 38, he was still strikingly handsome, with sharp features softened by the humility of his roots. But today, his eyes carried a flicker of distraction. "Darling," Camilla purred, wrapping her arms around him. "You're back early. How was Tokyo?" Jordan kissed her forehead, but his embrace was brief. "Exhausting." Signed the deal, though. We're expanding into Asia next quarter. He set his briefcase down, glancing around. Everything okay here? Camilla's smile didn't waver, but her pulse quickened. Perfect, as always. Just the usual, staff issues, planning the gala. Nothing you need to worry about. She steered him toward the dining room, where a candlelit dinner waited. Come, I had chef prepare your favorite. As they sat, Jordan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, a missed call from an unknown number. He frowned, then set it aside. Anyone stop by while I was gone? He asked, cutting into his steak. I got a weird voicemail from someone at the terminal, asking if I was expecting a visitor. Camilla's fork paused mid-air, her heart lurching. She recovered quickly, laughing lightly. Oh, just some salesman. You know how they are, always trying to sneak past the gate with their pamphlets. I had security handle it. She reached for his hand, her touch lingering. You're too important to be bothered with that nonsense. Jordan nodded, but his brow furrowed. Salesman at the gate? That's new. Usually they stick to emails. They're getting bolder, Camilla said smoothly, sipping her wine. Don't worry, I've got it under control. No one gets in without my say-so. She leaned forward, her voice softening. You focus on the empire, Jordan. Let me handle the home front. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. You're too good to me, Cam. He took another bite, his mind clearly elsewhere. Camilla watched him, her fingers tightening around her glass. She'd buried Vivian's visit for now, but Jordan's questions were a warning. She needed to tighten her grip on the narrative, and fast. At the Hope Street shelter, the air smelled of bleach and instant coffee. Vivian sat in a corner of the common room, her wheelchair parked beside a sagging couch. Her coat, still damp from the rain, hung over the armrest, and her satchel rested on her lap. The shelter was a cacophony of coughing, murmured conversations, and the clatter of trays, but Vivian was silent, her eyes fixed on the photo of her and Jordan. The memory of Camilla's cruel words, beggar, scam, stung like a fresh wound. Outside, Tom, the security guard who'd escorted her away, sat in his beat-up sedan, gripping the steering wheel. He'd driven to the shelter on his lunch break, guilt gnawing at him. He was 45, a father of two, and the steel job paid well, too well to risk. But Vivian's trembling voice, her tear-streaked face, had haunted him all night. He'd seen the resemblance to Jordan in her eyes, the same quiet strength. She wasn't lying, he thought. That was his mother. Tom knocked on the shelter's door, his uniform swapped for a plain jacket to avoid attention. A volunteer, a wiry woman with gray braids, let him in. You here to volunteer? She asked. No, ma'am, Tom said, his voice low. Looking for someone. Older lady, in a wheelchair. Came in yesterday. The volunteer nodded, pointing to Vivian. That's her. Keeps to herself. You family. Tom shook his head. Just someone who owes her an apology. He approached Vivian, his boots heavy on the linoleum floor. She looked up, her eyes widening with recognition. Ma'am, Tom began, crouching beside her. I'm so sorry about yesterday. I didn't have a choice. Mrs. Steele, she's strict. Vivian's lips trembled, but she managed a small smile. It's all right, young man. You were doing your job. Tom's jaw tightened. It's not all right. I saw your face. I know you're telling the truth about Mr. Steele. He glanced around, lowering his voice. I want to help. I can't go against her directly. She'd fire me and my kids. But I'll find a way to get word to him. I promise. Vivian's eyes filled with tears. You're kind. But I don't want trouble for you. I just wanted to see my boy. Maybe it's better this way. Tom shook his head. No, ma'am. He deserves to know you're here. I'll figure it out. He hesitated, then pulled a crumpled $10 from his pocket. Get yourself some coffee or something. It's not much, but... Vivian pushed the money back gently. Keep it for your children. Your kindness is enough. She paused, her voice soft. If you see Jordan, just tell him. His mother loves him. That's all. Tom nodded, his throat tight. As he left, he vowed to find a way to reach Jordan, without losing everything. Back at the shelter, Vivian sat by a small window, the evening light casting shadows across her face. The room had quieted, most residents settling in for the night. She pulled a notebook from her satchel, its pages yellowed and curling. It was her journal, a habit she'd kept since Jordan was a boy, filled with letters she'd never sent. She opened to a blank page, her pen shaking as she began to write. Dear Jordan, I came to see you today. I wanted to tell you I'm proud of you, that I've always been. But I couldn't get past the gate. Your wife, she didn't know me. Maybe she's right to protect you. You've built a big life, and I'm just a small piece of the past. I don't want to burden you. I just needed to see your smile one more time. She paused, tears blotting the ink. The memory of Camilla's sneer, the clang of the gate, replayed in her mind. She'd raised Jordan to be strong, to rise above their small-town struggles. Had she failed him by coming here, by dragging her broken body into his perfect world? A young volunteer, Mia, approached with a tray of tea. You okay, Miss Vivian? She asked, her voice gentle. She was 19, with bright eyes and a knack for noticing the quiet ones. Vivian closed the notebook, forcing a smile. Just writing to my son. He's far away. Mia sat beside her, setting the tray down. You must miss him. What's he like? Vivian's face softened. He's kind. Smart. When he was little, he'd fix things. Radios, toasters, anything broken. He said he'd fix the world one day. She laughed softly, then sighed. I haven't seen him in years. He's busy now, important. Mia tilted her head. Busy or not, I bet he'd want to know you're here. Why don't you send that letter? Vivian shook her head. I don't want to bother him. He's got a wife, a big house. I'd only be in the way. Mia frowned, unconvinced. My mom always says family's never in the way. Maybe he's waiting for you to reach out. Vivian looked out the window, the city lights blurring through her tears. Maybe, she whispered. But she tucked the notebook away, deciding to let Jordan's new life remain untouched. For now, her love would stay silent, locked in ink and memory. The next morning, Camilla hosted her weekly brunch in the mansion's sunlit conservatory, a glass-walled oasis filled with orchids and the clink of champagne flutes. Her guests, 5 women from the city's elite social circle, lounged on cushioned chairs, their laughter as polished as their designer bags. Camilla, in a cream jumpsuit that cost more than most people's rent, held court, her voice dripping with charm. Ladies, she said, raising her glass, to another week of ruling the world, or at least this city. The women laughed, though their eyes were sharp, always watching for a slip. Sienna, a tech heiress with a penchant for gossip, leaned forward. Camilla, your gala plans are divine. But tell me, how do you keep Jordan so grounded? All that money, and he's still so normal. Camilla's smile tightened. She hated when Jordan's humility came up. It clashed with her carefully curated image. Oh, it's not hard, she said, waving a hand. I remind him where he belongs. He may have come from nothing, but I've made sure he's surrounded by something now. She gestured to the room, her rings catching the light. No more small-town nonsense. The women nodded, but Sienna's eyes glinted. Speaking of small towns, I heard Jordan's mother was quite the character. A seamstress, right? Raised him all alone. Camilla's grip on her glass tightened, her knuckles whitening. Ancient history, she said coolly. Jordan left that life behind. We don't dwell on it. Another guest, Elise, a fashion influencer, giggled. Good thing, too. Can you imagine? Some dusty old lady showing up here, expecting a handout? You'd send her packing, Camilla. The table erupted in laughter, but Camilla's smile was a mask. She steered the conversation to safer topics, gala menus, vacation plans, but her mind churned. The mention of Jordan's mother felt like a trap, and she couldn't shake the image of Vivian's pleading eyes. As the brunch ended, Camilla walked her guests to the door, her charm unwavering. But inside, she was plotting. She needed to ensure no one connected the dots between Vivian and Jordan, not her friends, not the staff, and certainly not her husband. The brunch was winding down when Sienna lingered by the conservatory's glass doors, her phone in hand. She'd been quieter than usual, her eyes darting to Camilla with an unreadable expression. As the other women gathered their purses, Sienna pulled Camilla aside, her voice low. "Camilla, I didn't want to say this in front of everyone, but I drove by your gate yesterday. There was an old woman there, in a wheelchair. She looked like Jordan's mother." Camilla's blood ran cold, but she kept her face neutral. "What are you talking about, Sienna? Jordan's mother isn't here. She's somewhere else. Probably dead, for all we know." Sienna raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. "I'm just saying, she had his eyes. And she was arguing with your security guy. Looked pretty upset." Camilla laughed, a sharp, dismissive sound. "Oh, Sienna, you're too dramatic. It was probably some homeless woman causing trouble. You know how these people are, always looking for a sob story to exploit." Sienna didn't smile. "Maybe. But I took a picture. Want me to send it to you? Or to Jordan?" Camilla's heart stopped, but she recovered with a saccharine smile. "No need, darling. I'll handle it. You know how Jordan gets about his privacy. Let's not bother him with nonsense." She touched Sienna's arm, her grip just tight enough to convey a warning. "And let's keep this between us, No need to stir up rumors." Sienna nodded slowly, her eyes narrowing. "Sure, Camilla. My lips are sealed." But as she walked away, Camilla caught her typing on her phone, a smirk playing on her lips. Camilla closed the door behind her guests, her composure cracking. Sienna's comment was a ticking bomb. If she sent that photo to Jordan, or worse, posted it online, everything Camilla had built could unravel. She needed to find out what Sienna knew and bury it, just like she'd buried Vivian's visit. But the walls of her perfect world were starting to close in. The Hope Street shelter was a patchwork of faded hope, its walls lined with peeling posters about job fairs and free clinics. Vivian sat in the common room, her wheelchair tucked beside a wobbly table, sipping weak tea from a chipped mug. Her satchel rested on her lap, the photo of her and Jordan safely inside, a talisman against the ache in her chest. The shelter was quieter this morning, the usual clamor softened by the patter of rain outside. Vivian's eyes traced the window, watching droplets race down the glass, her mind replaying Camilla's cruel dismissal for the 100th time. Across town, at a small community clinic, Nurse Clara Martinez was sorting patient files, her glasses slipping down her nose. Clara, 52, was a no-nonsense woman with a warm smile and a knack for remembering faces. She'd worked at the clinic for a decade, tending to the city's overlooked, homeless families, elderly shut-ins, and anyone who fell through the cracks. As she filed a chart, her colleague, Dr. Patel, poked his head into the office. "Clara, you remember that older lady from last week? Wheelchair, arthritis flare-up." Dr. Patel asked, adjusting his stethoscope. "She mentioned looking for her son. Sounded like a big deal." Clara's brow furrowed. "Vivian, right? Sweet woman. Said her son was some tech hotshot. I gave her directions to that fancy estate uptown." She paused, her hands stilling. "Why, she okay?" Dr. Patel shrugged. "Dunno. Just overheard a patient talking about a woman in a wheelchair getting turned away from a mansion. Sounded like her." Clara's stomach twisted. She'd liked Vivian instantly, her quiet dignity, the way her eyes lit up when she spoke of her son. Turned away? That's awful. She came all this way to see him. Clara glanced at the clock. Her shift ended in an hour, and the shelter wasn't far. "I'm gonna check on her. Make sure she's all right." At the shelter, Clara found Vivian in the common room, looking smaller than she remembered. "Ms. Vivian?" Clara called softly, pulling up a chair. "It's Nurse Clara, from the clinic. You doing okay?" Vivian's face brightened, though her eyes were tired. "Oh, Clara. You're kind to come. I'm managing." Clara leaned forward, her voice gentle but firm. "I heard what happened at that mansion. Did they really send you away?" Vivian's hands tightened around her mug, her voice barely audible. "They didn't believe me. His wife. She thought I was a beggar. I just wanted to see Jordan, even for a moment." Clara's jaw clenched. "That's not right. Your son deserves to know you're here." She hesitated, then added, "What's his name? Maybe I can get a message to him." Vivian shook her head, her smile sad. "Jordan Steele. But he's busy, important. I don't want to be a burden." Clara's eyes widened. "Jordan Steele? The tech billionaire? You're his mother." She leaned back, processing. "Ms. Vivian, if he's half the man you raised, he'd want you in his life. Let me help." Vivian's tears welled up, but she nodded. "You're too kind. If you can, just tell him I was here. That I love him." Clara squeezed her hand. "I'll do more than that. I'll make sure he hears you." As she left, Clara's mind raced. She didn't know Jordan Steele, but she knew people, cabbies, clinic patients, even a reporter who owed her a favor. Someone would get the truth to him. The Steele mansion glowed under the evening chandelier, its opulence a stark contrast to the tension simmering within. Jordan sat in his study, a sleek room lined with books he rarely had time to read. His laptop was open, but his attention was on a small, crumpled birthday card he'd found in the kitchen trash. It was simple, with a faded cartoon rocket and the words, "To my star," scrawled in Vivian's familiar handwriting. The postmark was 6 months old, unopened, discarded. Jordan's chest tightened. He hadn't seen the card before. Camilla handled the mail, insisting on streamlining his life. But this wasn't junk. It was from his mother, the woman who'd sacrificed everything for him. Why was it in the trash? He turned it over, reading the brief note inside. "Happy birthday, Jordan. I'm so proud of you. Love, Ma." The simplicity of it cut deeper than any boardroom loss. He leaned back, rubbing his temples. The voicemail from the bus terminal, the salesman Camilla mentioned, now this card, it didn't add up. He buzzed the intercom. "Marissa? Can you come in?" Marissa, the young housekeeper, appeared, her hands twisting nervously. "Yes, Mr. Steele?" Jordan held up the card. "This was in the trash. It's from my mother. Any idea how it got there?" Marissa's eyes widened, her face paling. I don't know, sir. I just empty the bins. Maybe it was a mistake." Jordan's gaze softened, sensing her fear. "It's okay, Marissa. I'm not blaming you. Just, has anyone come by lately? Someone asking for me." Marissa hesitated, glancing at the door. I'm not supposed to say anything," Mrs. Steele said. "Said what?" Jordan's voice was calm but firm, his eyes searching hers. Marissa swallowed, her voice a whisper. "There was a woman, older, in a wheelchair. A few days ago. She said she was your mother, but Mrs. Steele, she sent her away." Jordan's breath caught, his hand tightening around the card. "My mother? Here. And Camilla didn't tell me." Marissa nodded, tears brimming. "I'm sorry, sir. I wanted to tell you, but Mrs. Steele said we'd be fired if we did." Jordan stood, his jaw set. "You did the right thing, Marissa. Thank you. And don't worry, your job's safe." He dismissed her gently, his mind racing. Camilla had lied. His mother had been here, and he hadn't known. The betrayal stung, but the thought of Vivian, alone, rejected, hurt worse. He needed answers, and he wasn't waiting for Camilla to provide them. The next morning, Jordan was in the mansion's security room, a small space tucked behind the garage. Monitors lined the walls, their screens dark until he powered them up. He wasn't a tech genius for nothing. He designed the system himself, every camera, every backup. If Vivian had been at the gate, there'd be proof. He pulled up the footage from the day Marissa mentioned, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The screen flickered, then went blank. File not found. Jordan frowned, trying another angle. Same result. He checked the logs. Every clip from that day was gone, manually deleted. His stomach churned. This wasn't a glitch. Someone had covered their tracks. He called Camilla, who was in the city meeting her gala planner. "Camilla," he said, his voice tight, "I'm looking at the security footage from last week. It's gone. Any idea why?" Camilla's laugh was light, practiced. "Oh, darling, you know how finicky those systems are. It probably crashed again. I'll have the techs look at it." Jordan's grip on the phone tightened. Crashed? Or deleted? Marissa told me someone came by. An older woman in a wheelchair. Said she was my mother. A pause, too long. "Marissa's mistaken," Camilla said, her tone sharpening. "It was just some vagrant. I handled it. You're too busy for these distractions, Jordan." Distractions. Jordan's voice was low, dangerous. "If that was my mother, Camilla, you had no right to turn her away." Camilla sighed, exasperated. "Jordan, you're overreacting. I'm protecting you. People try to scam us all the time. I'll be home soon. We'll talk then." She hung up, leaving Jordan staring at the blank screens. He leaned back, his mind racing. Camilla's lies were unraveling, but without footage, he had no proof. He needed to know if Vivian was still in the city, if she was safe. He opened his laptop, pulling up contacts. It was time to call in a favor. That evening, Jordan was in the dining room, staring at his untouched dinner, when a folded note slid under his plate. He glanced up. No one was there. Marissa had been clearing dishes, but she'd vanished into the kitchen. He unfolded the note, written in hurried, shaky script. "Your mother came. Your wife sent her away. Check the shelter on Hope Street." Jordan's heart pounded. The note was anonymous, but he knew it was Marissa, or someone else too scared to speak openly. He tucked it into his pocket, his resolve hardening. Camilla was due back any minute, and he wasn't ready to confront her. Not yet. He needed facts, not accusations. When Camilla swept in, her heels clicking, she was all smiles. "Jordan, you're still up? I'm exhausted from the gala planning." She kissed his cheek, her perfume sharp. "Everything okay?" Jordan forced a nod, his expression neutral. "Just tired. Long day." He watched her closely, noting the slight tension in her smile. She was hiding something, and he was done playing her game. As Camilla headed upstairs, Jordan slipped into his study, locking the door. He pulled out the note, rereading it. Hope Street Shelter. It was a start. He dialed Tom, the security guard, who answered on the first ring. "Tom," Jordan said, keeping his voice low. "I need you to be straight with me. Did an older woman in a wheelchair come to the gate last week?" Tom hesitated, then sighed. "Yes, sir. She said she was your mother. Mrs. Steele. She told me to send her away. I took her to the Hope Street shelter. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't know what else to do." Jordan's chest tightened, but he kept his tone even. "You did what you could, Tom. Thank you. Keep this between us." "Yes, sir," Tom said, relief in his voice. "She seemed like a good woman, sir. She just wanted to see you." Jordan hung up, his hands shaking. Vivian was out there, alone, because of Camilla's cruelty. He wasn't waiting another day to find her. The next morning, Jordan was in a downtown coffee shop, meeting Alex Reed, a private investigator he'd worked with on corporate espionage cases. Alex was in his late 40s, with a grizzled beard and eyes that missed nothing. He slid into the booth, sipping black coffee. "All right, Jordan," he said, his voice gravelly. "What's this about? You look like hell." Jordan slid the birthday card and the anonymous note across the table. My mother, Vivian Steele. She came to my house last week, and my wife turned her away. The security footage is gone, and no one's talking. I need you to find her. She's at the Hope Street shelter, or was. She's in a wheelchair, mid-60s, arthritis. Alex whistled, scanning the note. Your wife, huh? That's messy. Any idea why she'd hide this? Jordan's jaw tightened. Control. Camilla doesn't like my past. Says it's beneath us. But this is personal. Alex nodded, pocketing the items. I'll start at the shelter, talk to the staff, check local clinics, bus stations. If she's in the city, I'll find her. You want me to dig into your wife's story too? Jordan hesitated, then nodded. Discreetly. I need to know what she's hiding. Alex stood, clapping Jordan's shoulder. Give me 48 hours. And Jordan. If your mom's anything like you, she's tougher than she looks. As Alex left, Jordan stared out the window, the city blurring before him. He pictured Vivian, her warm smile, her calloused hands sewing his school clothes, her voice promising he'd be someone. She'd given him everything, and he'd let her slip away. Not anymore. He was going to find her, and when he did, Camilla would answer for what she'd done. The Hope Street shelter was a squat, gray building wedged between a pawn shop and a laundromat, its windows smudged with city grime. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of instant noodles and disinfectant. Jordan Steele stepped through the door, his tailored suit starkly out of place among the chipped tables and sagging couches. His heart pounded, a mix of hope and dread. Alex Reed, the private investigator, had called an hour ago. She's at the shelter. Vivian Steele, wheelchair, matches your description. Better move fast. Jordan scanned the room, his eyes landing on a frail figure by a corner window. Vivian sat in her wheelchair, her gray hair pulled into a loose bun, her hands folded over a worn leather satchel. She was reading a tattered newspaper, her glasses slipping down her nose. Even from across the room, Jordan recognized her. The curve of her shoulders, the quiet strength in her posture. His throat tightened. He approached slowly, his polished shoes soft on the linoleum. The shelter's hum faded, murmured conversations, the clink of spoons, replaced by the rush of memories. Vivian sewing his school clothes, her laughter as they shared ice cream, her voice promising he'd conquer the world. He stopped a few feet away, his voice barely a whisper. Ma. Vivian looked up, her eyes widening behind her glasses. The newspaper slipped from her hands, fluttering to the floor. Jordan. Her voice trembled, a mix of disbelief and joy. Is that you? He knelt beside her, his hands hovering, afraid to touch her, afraid she'd vanish. It's me, Ma. I'm here. His voice cracked, tears brimming. I'm so sorry. I didn't know you came. Vivian reached out, her gnarled fingers brushing his cheek. My boy, she whispered, her own tears falling. You're so grown. So handsome. She laughed softly, the sound breaking Jordan's heart. I didn't want to bother you. I needed to see you. Jordan took her hands, his grip gentle but firm. Bother me? Ma, you're my whole world. I'd have come running if I'd known. His voice hardened, a flicker of anger beneath the grief. Why didn't you tell me you were coming? Vivian's smile faltered, her eyes dropping to her lap. I tried, Jordan. I went to your house. But your wife, she didn't know me. She thought I was... She trailed off, her voice small. She sent me away. Jordan's jaw clenched, his hands tightening around hers. Camilla, he said, the name a low growl. What did she say to you? Vivian hesitated, her fingers trembling. It's not her fault. She was protecting you, maybe. She called me a beggar, said I was running a scam. I didn't want to cause trouble, so I left. Jordan's eyes darkened, a storm brewing. Trouble? Ma, you're my mother. She had no right. He stood, pacing a step, then knelt again, his voice softer. I'm taking you out of here. You're coming home with me. Vivian shook her head, her eyes wide. No, Jordan. I don't belong in your world. It's too big, too fancy. I'd only be in the way. Jordan's heart shattered. In the way. Ma, everything I've built, it's because of you. You're not staying here. Not another night. He glanced around, noting the curious stares of other residents. Let's go somewhere quiet. We need to talk. Vivian nodded, her hands clutching her satchel. As Jordan wheeled her toward the door, a young volunteer, Mia, approached. Ms. Vivian, you okay? She asked, eyeing Jordan warily. Vivian smiled, patting Mia's hand. I'm fine, dear. This is my son, Jordan. He found me. Mia's eyes widened, recognition dawning. You're that Jordan Steele? Wow. Take care of her, okay? She's special. Jordan nodded, his voice thick. I will. Thank you for looking after her. He pushed Vivian's wheelchair into the cool evening air, his resolve hardening. Camilla had crossed a line, and he wasn't letting it slide. Jordan drove Vivian to a quiet diner a few blocks away, its neon sign flickering open 24/7. The place was nearly empty, just a lone waitress wiping counters and a jukebox humming an old country tune. Jordan helped Vivian to a booth, her wheelchair parked beside her, and ordered coffee and pie, her favorite, he remembered, from their small-town days. The familiarity of it grounded him, a lifeline amid the chaos. Vivian sipped her coffee, her hands steadier now. This place reminds me of home, she said, her voice soft. We used to go to that diner on Maple Street, remember? You'd beg for extra whipped cream. Jordan smiled, the memory bittersweet. I remember. You'd always give in, even when we couldn't afford it. He leaned forward, his eyes searching hers. Ma, why didn't you call me? I'd have sent a car, a plane, anything. Vivian's gaze dropped to her cup. I didn't want to be a burden. You're so busy, Jordan. Your life's so different now. I thought maybe you'd moved on from me. Moved on. Jordan's voice broke, his hands clenching on the table. Ma, you're the reason I'm here. Every deal, every app, every dollar. It's all because you believed in me. I sent money, letters, but you kept saying you were fine. I should have come to you myself. Vivian reached for his hand, her touch warm despite her frailty. You were building your dreams. I didn't want to hold you back. But I got lonely, Jordan. The house felt empty and my hands. She held them up, gnarled and trembling. They don't work like they used to. I just wanted to see you once, to know you were happy. Jordan's tears fell freely now, his voice raw. I'm not happy if you're not with me. I didn't know you were struggling. Why didn't you tell me? Vivian's eyes glistened. Pride, maybe. Or fear. I didn't want you to see me like this, old, broken. I wanted you to remember me strong. You're the strongest person I know, Jordan said fiercely. And you're not broken. You're my mother, and I'm taking you home. No arguments. Vivian hesitated, then nodded, a tear slipping down her cheek. All right, Jordan. If you're sure. He squeezed her hand, his voice a vow. I've never been more sure of anything. But beneath his relief, anger simmered. Camilla's cruelty had stolen this moment from him, and he wasn't letting it go unanswered. The diner's fluorescent lights buzzed softly as Jordan and Vivian lingered over their pie, the weight of their reunion settling between them. Jordan's phone buzzed, Camilla, texting about the gala, but he silenced it, his focus on his mother. He needed to know everything, to understand the depth of what had been done to her. Ma, he said gently, tell me exactly what happened at the gate. Every word. I need to hear it. Vivian's hands trembled, her fork pausing mid-air. Jordan, it's done. No need to stir things up. It's not done, he said, his voice low but firm. She hurt you. I need to know how bad it was. Vivian sighed, her eyes distant. It was raining. I got to the gate, pressed the buzzer. Your wife answered, sharp-like, asked who I was. I said I was your mother, just wanted to see you. She didn't believe me. Laughed, even. Said I was a beggar, a scam artist. Told me to leave or she'd call the police. Jordan's fists clenched, his knuckles whitening. She laughed at you? Vivian nodded, her voice small. Then she came out, under an umbrella, all fancy. Looked at me like I was dirt. Called me grandmother time. Said you were too busy for sob stories. The guard, Tom, nice man, he had to take me away. He was kind, took me to the shelter. But her words, they stuck. Jordan's breathing was shallow, rage coiling in his chest. She humiliated you. Threw you out like trash. He stood, pacing the small booth, his voice rising. My own mother, and she didn't even tell me. She lied to my face, said it was salesman. Vivian reached for his arm, her touch calming. Jordan, don't let this eat you up. She's your wife. Maybe she didn't know. Didn't know. Jordan's eyes blazed. She knew enough to delete the security footage. She's been hiding your letters, throwing them away. I found one in the trash, a birthday card, Ma. She's been keeping you from me. Vivian's eyes widened, her hand covering her mouth. My letters? I thought you were too busy to write back. Jordan knelt beside her, his voice breaking. I wrote back. Every time. I sent money, called when I could. She must have intercepted them. He buried his face in his hands, guilt and fury warring within. I should have checked. I should have known. Vivian stroked his hair, her voice steady despite her tears. You're here now, Jordan. That's what matters. Don't let her steal this moment. Jordan nodded, but his mind was made up. Camilla's lies had gone too far. He'd deal with her, but not tonight. Tonight was for his mother. The drive back to the mansion was quiet, Vivian's wheelchair folded in the trunk, her satchel on her lap. Jordan's hands gripped the steering wheel, his jaw set. He'd arranged for a hotel suite for Vivian, somewhere safe, comfortable, until he could sort out the mess at home. He couldn't bring her to the mansion, not yet, not with Camilla there. The thought of his wife's smug face made his blood boil. He glanced at Vivian, her head resting against the window, her eyes closed. She looked peaceful, but he knew the wounds Camilla had inflicted weren't just words, they'd cut into her spirit. He pulled into the hotel's valet lane, helping Vivian into her wheelchair and checking her in. The suite was spacious, with a view of the city skyline, and a nurse he'd hired was waiting to assist. Jordan, this is too much, Vivian protested as he wheeled her inside. I don't need all this. You deserve it, he said firmly, kissing her forehead. Rest, Ma. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll figure everything out. Vivian squeezed his hand. Be careful, Jordan. She's your wife. Don't do anything rash. Jordan's smile was tight. Don't worry. I've got this. But as he left, his calm facade cracked. The rage he'd held back in the diner surged, a tidal wave he could barely contain. At the mansion, Camilla was in the living room, sipping wine and scrolling through gala RSVPs. She looked up as Jordan entered, her smile faltering at his expression. Darling, you're late. Everything okay? Jordan didn't answer, his eyes cold as he crossed the room. He stopped by the fireplace, his back to her, his voice low. I found her, Camilla. My mother. At a shelter, because of you. Camilla's glass froze halfway to her lips, her face paling. Jordan, what are you talking about? I told you, it was just some vagrant. Stop, he snapped, turning to face her. She told me everything. The gate, the rain, your words. Grandmother time, beggar. You humiliated her, lied to me, deleted the footage. Why? Camilla stood, her voice rising. I was protecting you. People try to scam us, Jordan. She showed up out of nowhere, no proof, just a sob story. I did what I had to. Jordan stepped closer, his voice deadly calm. "She's my mother. You had no right to decide." He paused, his eyes boring into hers. "You're going to answer for this, Camilla. But not tonight." He turned, heading for the stairs, leaving her frozen in the glow of the chandelier. Camilla's hands shook as she sank onto the couch, her perfect world cracking. Jordan knew the truth, and for the first time, she felt the ground shifting beneath her. The Steel Mansion's grand ballroom shimmered under a cascade of crystal chandeliers, the air thick with the scent of roses and champagne. The annual Steel Foundation Gala was in full swing, a glittering affair attended by the city's elite. Tech moguls, philanthropists, and media moguls mingling in tailored tuxedos and couture gowns. Jordan Steele stood at the center of it all, his charcoal suit impeccable, his smile practiced but distant. Tonight wasn't just about charity, it was about setting things right. Camilla, radiant in a sapphire gown that hugged her like a second skin, worked the room with her usual charm, her laughter ringing out as she posed for photos. She was in her element, oblivious to the storm Jordan had carefully orchestrated. He'd invited Vivian as the guest of honor, a secret he'd kept from Camilla, knowing her reaction would expose her cruelty to the world. Vivian was waiting in a private suite upstairs, tended by a nurse and dressed in a simple but elegant emerald dress Jordan had chosen, her favorite color. As the orchestra struck up a waltz, Jordan took the stage, tapping the microphone. The room quieted, eyes turning to him. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice steady but laced with emotion, "tonight is about giving back, but it's also about family. About the people who lift us up, who sacrifice everything so we can stand here." He paused, his gaze sweeping the crowd, lingering on Camilla, whose smile faltered. "I want to introduce someone very special. My mother, Vivian Steele." A murmur rippled through the guests as Jordan gestured to the side entrance. Vivian appeared, wheeled in by Tom, the security guard, now dressed in a sharp suit. Her hair was neatly styled, her eyes bright with nervous pride. The crowd parted, some clapping, others whispering, recognizing the weight of the moment. Camilla's face drained of color, her glass trembling in her hand. "What is this?" she hissed to a nearby aide, who shrugged, equally stunned. Jordan met Vivian at the ramp, taking her hand. "This is the woman who raised me," he said, his voice amplifying through the room. "A single mother, a seamstress, who worked her hands to the bone so I could dream. She taught me everything: humility, resilience, love. And tonight, she's here to remind us what this foundation stands for." Vivian smiled, her voice soft but clear as she spoke into the microphone Jordan offered. "I'm just a mother who loves her son. I'm so proud of Jordan, and I'm honored to be here." Her words were simple, but they carried a weight that silenced the room. Camilla's eyes darted, her composure cracking. She stepped forward, forcing a smile. "Jordan, darling, this is unexpected. Perhaps we should discuss." "No, Camilla," Jordan cut her off, his tone icy. "We're done discussing. Tonight, the truth speaks." He turned back to the crowd, his arm around Vivian. "Enjoy the evening, everyone. And thank you, Ma, for being my rock." The applause was deafening, but Camilla stood frozen, her world unraveling as guests whispered and cameras flashed. She knew this was no accident. Jordan had set a trap, and she'd walked right into it. The gala continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. Guests clustered in corners, their murmurs buzzing like static. Camilla's sapphire gown, once a symbol of her dominance, now felt like a spotlight she couldn't escape. She gripped a champagne flute, her knuckles white, as Sienna, the tech heiress from the brunch, approached, her smile sharp. "Well, Camilla," Sienna said, her voice dripping with mock sympathy, "that was quite the surprise. Jordan's mother, alive and well. Funny how you said she was probably dead." Camilla's jaw tightened, her smile a brittle mask. "Sienna, this is a misunderstanding. I was protecting Jordan from his own mother?" Sienna interrupted, raising an eyebrow. "Save it. The whole room's talking about how you threw her out. In the rain, no less. Classy." She leaned closer, her voice a whisper. "I sent that photo to a friend at the Chronicle. They're running with it tomorrow. Camilla's breath hitched, her eyes narrowing. You wouldn't dare. Oh, I would, Sienna said, sipping her drink. You've been queen bee too long, Camilla. Time for a reality check. She sauntered off, leaving Camilla reeling. Across the room, Jordan stood with Vivian, introducing her to a group of donors. Vivian's warmth charmed them, her stories of Jordan's childhood drawing laughter and nods. But Jordan's eyes kept flicking to Camilla, noting her strained smiles, her hurried whispers to aides. He leaned down to Vivian, his voice low. You okay, ma? This is a lot. Vivian squeezed his hand, her eyes shining. I'm fine, Jordan. Just happy to be here with you. But, your wife, she looks upset. Be careful. Jordan's expression hardened. She brought this on herself. She needs to face it. He kissed her forehead, then excused himself, approaching a reporter from the city's top news outlet. I've got a story for you, he said, his voice low. About my mother, and what happened when she came to my gate. Camilla, watching from afar, felt the room tilt. She slipped into a side hallway, her heels echoing, and dialed her publicist. Get ahead of this, she snapped. Some old woman's spinning lies, and Jordan's buying it. Kill the story before it spreads. Her publicist's voice was tense. Camilla, it's already spreading. There's a video, someone recorded Jordan's speech. It's on X, trending. People are calling you out. This is bad. Camilla's phone slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. She leaned against the wall, her breath shallow. The gala, her crown jewel, had become her undoing. By midnight, the internet was ablaze. A guest at the gala, a young influencer named Lila, had posted a shaky video of Jordan's speech, capturing Vivian's entrance and Camilla's stunned reaction. The clip, captioned, "Billionaire's wife humiliates his disabled mother, exposed," had racked up millions of views on X, TikTok, and Instagram. Comments poured in, a tidal wave of outrage. Camilla Steele is heartless. Throwing out an elderly woman in a wheelchair? Disgusting. Jordan's mom is a queen. Camilla's done. This is elder abuse. Camilla needs to be cancelled. Lila, basking in her viral fame, went live from her hotel room, her makeup still gala-perfect. Guys, I was there, she said, her eyes wide. Camilla's face when Jordan brought out his mom? Priceless. She tried to play it off, but everyone knew she was guilty. The whole room was whispering about how she called Vivian a beggar. I mean, who does that? Her chat exploded, viewers demanding more. Spill the tea, one wrote. Lila grinned, leaning closer. Okay, so I heard from a server that Camilla's been dodging Jordan all night. And get this, someone saw her yelling at the security guard who brought Vivian in. She's unraveling, y'all. At the mansion, Camilla sat in her private study, her laptop open to X, the screen a blur of notifications. Her carefully curated brand, #SteelEmpire, #PowerCouple, was drowning in hashtags like #CamillaTheCruel and #JusticeForVivian. She slammed the laptop shut, her hands shaking. This isn't happening, she muttered, pacing. I'm not the villain. She called Sienna, her voice shrill. You did this, didn't you? That photo, the leak, you set me up. Sienna's laugh was cold. Camilla, you set yourself up. You thought you could bury Jordan's past and keep playing queen. The internet doesn't forget. She hung up, leaving Camilla staring at her phone, the silence deafening. Jordan, meanwhile, was at the hotel with Vivian, shielding her from the online storm. He scrolled through X, his jaw tight as he read the comments. They're tearing her apart, Ma, he said, his voice low. Part of me wants to let it burn, but she's still my wife. Vivian's eyes were sad but firm. Don't let anger make your choices, Jordan. She hurt me, yes, but you're better than vengeance. Fix what you can, but don't lose yourself. Jordan nodded, but the fire in his chest didn't fade. Camilla's reckoning was just beginning. The fallout was swift and brutal. By morning, Camilla's brand deals, luxury fashion, skincare, jewelry, began pulling out, their PR team citing reputational concerns. Her social media accounts, once a shrine to her perfect life, were flooded with vitriol, forcing her to go private. Her so-called friends, the brunch clique, stopped returning her calls, their silence louder than any insult. Camilla stood in the mansion's guest house, a sleek but smaller space where Jordan had moved her belongings. The main house was off-limits now, a boundary he'd set without explanation. She stared at a pile of designer dresses, her hands trembling as she packed a suitcase. The guest house felt like exile, a demotion from queen to outcast. Jordan knocked, entering without waiting for permission. His face was unreadable, his voice calm but cold. "We need to talk." Camilla spun, her eyes flashing. "Talk? You humiliated me, Jordan. Paraded that woman in front of everyone. Let the world paint me as a monster. I was protecting you." "Protecting me?" Jordan's voice rose, his calm cracking. "You threw my mother out in the rain, lied to my face, hid her letters. You didn't protect me. You protected your image. And now it's gone." Camilla's tears fell, but they were angry, not remorseful. "I made you, Jordan. I polished you, gave you this life. Without me, you're just a small-town nobody." Jordan's laugh was bitter. "You're wrong. My mother made me. You just took the credit." He stepped closer, his voice low. "I've filed for separation. You can stay here until we sort it out, but the mansion, the gala, the life you love, it's over." Camilla's knees buckled, and she sank onto the couch. "You can't do this. I'm your wife." "Not anymore," Jordan said, turning to leave. "You chose this when you slammed that door." The door closed behind him, the sound final, like a gavel. Camilla sat alone, the guest house's silence suffocating. Her empire, her identity, had crumbled in days. She clutched her phone, scrolling through the last of her notifications, each one a nail in her coffin. She'd lost everything, her status, her friends, her husband. And deep down, she knew she'd earned it. Months later, the steel mansion was transformed. Jordan had poured millions into a private wing for Vivian, a sunlit sanctuary with wide doorways, a therapy pool, and a garden where she could read. The wing was staffed with nurses, chefs, and a driver, ensuring her comfort and independence. Vivian's old sewing machine sat in a cozy corner, a nod to her past, now surrounded by luxury she'd never imagined. Vivian wheeled through the garden, her hands steadier thanks to new treatments Jordan had arranged. She paused by a rose bush, touching a petal. "These are beautiful, Jordan," she said, smiling as he walked beside her. "But you didn't have to do all this. I'd have been happy with a little room." Jordan knelt, his eyes warm. "You deserve more than a little room, Ma. You gave me everything. I'm just giving it back." He paused, his voice softer. "Are you happy here?" Vivian's eyes glistened. "Happier than I've been in years. Not because of the fancy house, but because I'm with you." She squeezed his hand. "What about you? This has been hard." Jordan sighed, glancing at the main house. "I'm getting there. The separation's finalizing. Camilla's fighting it, but she's got no leverage. I just want to move forward, focus on you, on the foundation." Vivian nodded, her voice gentle. "You'll find your way, Jordan. You always do. Just don't let bitterness take root." He smiled, kissing her forehead. "I won't, Ma. I've got you to keep me grounded." As they wheeled back inside, the mansion felt lighter, a home again, not a battleground. Vivian's presence had healed it, and Jordan was determined to keep it that way. The mansion's lawn was alive with laughter, the air warm with the scent of barbecue and summer grass. Jordan hosted a community dinner, a new tradition to honor Vivian and the foundation's roots. Tables stretched across the grass, laden with food, fried chicken, cornbread, pies, served to shelter residents, local families, and foundation staff. Vivian sat at the head table, her wheelchair adorned with a small bouquet, her smile radiant as she chatted with Mia, the shelter volunteer, now a foundation intern. Jordan clinked a glass, standing to speak. "Thank you all for being here," he said, his voice carrying over the crowd. "This isn't just a dinner, it's a promise. To lift each other up, to never forget where we came from." He looked at Vivian, his eyes soft. "My mother taught me that. She's the heart of this, and I'm so grateful she's here." The crowd applauded, Vivian blushing as Mia squeezed her hand. "You're a rock star, Miss Vivian," Mia whispered, making her laugh. Across the lawn, Camilla watched from the guesthouse window, her face a mask of resentment and loss. She was a ghost now, excluded from the life she'd once ruled. Her suitcase was packed, she'd move out tomorrow, her lawyers outmatched by Jordan's. The sight of Vivian, surrounded by love, was a final blow. Camilla turned away, the curtains falling shut, her silhouette fading into irrelevance. Jordan caught Tom's eye, the guard now promoted to head of security. "You did good, Tom," he said, clapping his shoulder. "Thanks for helping her that day." Tom grinned, his guilt long gone. "Just doing what's right, sir. Your mom's 1 in a million." As the sun set, Jordan sat beside Vivian, the crowd's chatter a warm hum. "This is home now, Ma," he said, his voice low. "You and me, like it used to be." Vivian smiled, her hand on his. "Better than it used to be, Jordan. We're family again." The stars emerged above, and for the first time in years, they both felt whole. "I'm glad you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the story."